Alright, let's jump right into this explainer. Today we're tackling a pretty chilling reality about the organization tasked with keeping the most powerful person on Earth alive. We're constantly hearing about the Secret Service, right? You picture the earpieces, the dark suits, those heavy armored motorcades, but despite being literally one of the most elite security forces on the planet, terrifying gaps still occur. So today we're going to break down exactly why the presidential security shield sometimes fails. So, you gotta wonder, how does this system built on a literal zero-fail mandate actually break down? Well, to understand that, we have to look past the noisy political headlines and examine the sheer everyday mechanics of the operation. The mission of the Secret Service is, frankly, an absolute impossibility. They have to be perfect every single second of every single day, while an attacker, they only have to be lucky once. And what happens when they aren't perfect? Just listen to this. If I had reacted just a little bit quicker, now I live with that to my grave. That is a haunting regret from Agent Clint Hill in Dallas, 1963. And it perfectly captures the devastating human cost of a security gap. A president's life was ended within just 6 seconds of the very first shot. Remember, some agents on JFK's detail had been out late the night before at a shady nightclub called The Cellar, blowing off steam from a completely grueling schedule. When the unthinkable happened, the reaction time just wasn't there. To really grasp how we got to our modern security setup, we need to rewind a bit. Before the immense trauma of 1963, America actually had a deeper version to treating its presidents like kings. It went all the way back to the founding fathers. Because of that mindset, the Secret Service in the 1960s was essentially a bare-bones agency. We're talking only 350 agents nationwide, with just a tiny rotating team of 6 guarding the president at the White House. Section 1. Building the perfect machine. Kennedy's death traumatized the nation profoundly, and it forced the agency to massively expand. We're talking bigger budget, way more personnel, and intense rigor. They completely re-engineered how they think about threats, specifically preparing for the Jackal, which is their internal term for any would-be assassin. The modern Secret Service knows a president is most vulnerable when arriving at or leaving an event, so they don't just react anymore. They prepare up to a year and a half in advance for high-profile events. They scour the venue for literally every possible vulnerability. Could the Jackal cut the lights? Could they pump poison gas through an air conditioning vent? They check it all. It's like a massive, highly coordinated puzzle. You've got your advanced teams doing the meticulous groundwork. Then the protective detail, the actual human shields. But backing them up is the counter-assault team, heavily armed to neutralize a threat before it even reaches the president. Plus, you have uniformed emergency response teams, with K9 units sniffing up to 100 cars a day just to create a sterile environment. It is a massive undertaking. And towering above all of that are the counter-snipers. The standards here are absolutely incredible. To keep their job, counter-snipers have to prove every single month that they can still hit a target from a staggering 1,000 yards away. If they fail that test, they don't work. It just goes to show the extreme, almost superhuman competence required to maintain this shield. Section 2. Optics versus total security. Okay, so with a machine that's perfect, where do the gaps come from? Well, the first major gap comes from an intense clash between the political need to look calm and the tactical need for control. You've basically got two teams with totally competing goals. The politicians want the president to look accessible and brave. The Secret Service, they just want to keep him alive, which, let's be honest, is much easier if they're hidden away in a bunker. We saw this exact paralysis play out on the morning of September 11th, 2001. President George W. Bush was in Florida reading to second graders when the planes hit the towers. His elite bodyguards got the intel. They knew America was under attack and wanted to move him immediately. But they lacked the clear authority to overrule political staffers, like the press secretary, who were deeply concerned about the optics of terrifying the children and the public on live TV. As a result, for 7 excruciating minutes, the president remained seated in that classroom. The Secret Service was agitated but essentially paralyzed by the chain of command. This exposed a massive gap in their emergency action plans. Post 9/11, they had to completely rewrite the rules to ensure that no political staffer could ever again overrule an agent attempting to evacuate a president to safety. Section 3. Bureaucracy and intelligence gaps. But, the problems don't stop at political optics. Even when the Secret Service has the total authority to act, they are sometimes blinded by interagency silos. Take the assassination attempt on President Ronald Reagan in 1981. John Hinckley Jr. was able to get just 15 feet away from the president in fire. But here is the really infuriating part. 6 months prior, Hinckley had been arrested trying to board a plane with 3 handguns in a city President Jimmy Carter was visiting. The FBI knew about this arrest, but thanks to the magic of government bureaucracy, they deemed it too minor to share with the Secret Service. That red tape literally deprived agents of a massive red flag. Because of that near tragedy, the service completely revamped their intelligence gathering. Today, they process an average of 10 threats a day, using a really rigorous classification system. They use incredible forensic tools now, like an international ink library, to analyze threatening letters sent to the White House. They study the psychology of assassins to spot the Jackal long before a Class 3 threat can ever get close to a venue. Section 4. Why the machinery rusts. So we've got this hyper-sophisticated shield, advanced intelligence, and elite tactical teams, yet gaps still occur. Why? Well, the next major reason is entirely internal. It's the intense human toll of maintaining a zero-fail expectation 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Underneath the sunglasses and earpieces, the Secret Service is made up of human beings. And it is absolutely shocking to realize that $48,000 a year is the starting salary for a federal agent who was quite literally expected to take a bullet for the president. You are demanding absolute perfection, but offering a salary barely above entry-level retail. It's a system fundamentally at war with itself. I mean, just contrast the hyper-elite image of those $1.5 million bulletproof limousines, the beast, with the mundane, grueling reality of the job. These agents face constant, exhausting travel. They work massive amounts of unpaid overtime. The morale is frequently at rock bottom, and high turnover is a chronic issue, because experienced agents can easily leave for private security firms that offer way better pay and an actual work-life balance. This systemic rust culminated disastrously during the Obama administration. Agents were suddenly facing 4 times the amount of threats compared to previous presidents. The system was stretched totally beyond its capacity. And what happens when an exhausted, underpaid workforce is pushed to the absolute brink? You get a wave of internal scandals. Agents caught drinking, fraternizing with informants, causing embarrassing public incidents that completely shatter the agency's pristine reputation. It's a direct cascade from exhaustion straight to catastrophic failure. Section 5. Modern gaps and near misses. So, what happens when an exhausted, overstretched system collides with rapidly evolving real-world threats? The holes in the Swiss cheese model of failure align, and a threat slips right through. We saw this terrifyingly clearly in Butler, Pennsylvania in 2024. An assassin managed to gain access to an unguarded roof with a direct, clear line of sight to former President Donald Trump. Despite decades of post-JFK and post-Reagan evolution, despite all the advanced teams and counter-snipers, a fundamental, basic breakdown in securing an obvious vantage point nearly changed American history all over again. The fallout from this was massive. 6 agents were suspended. The director of the Secret Service was forced to step down. And with another attempt occurring just 2 months later, the agency is once again being forced to reckon with how its protective machinery rusts in real time. It's a glaring reminder that past successes simply don't guarantee future security when the foundation itself is cracking under pressure. Now, we're not dissecting these gaps in this explainer to say the agency is entirely incompetent. Far from it. We do it to understand the absolute impossibility of their mandate. The Secret Service operates in a realm where their perfection is practically an invisible iceberg. When they do their job right, when an advanced team spots a vulnerability or an intelligence analyst catches a Class 3 threat, literally nothing happens. Only their failures make history. So I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. If these are the gaps that actually made the headlines, if these are the moments the shield cracked, how many successfully prevented disasters will we simply never hear about? That might just be the real enduring secret of the service. All the times history almost changed and didn't. Thanks for exploring this with me today. Keep asking the big questions, and I'll catch you on the next explainer.